Hi, good afternoon. I've been asked this afternoon to introduce Mónica. I'm very happy to do it right now. I was trying to remember when we first met, Mónica. Do you remember that?
Yeah, in Arts Electrónica. No? Before? No.
Before in the Sonar Festival, our good friend Irma introduced us.
Oh, that was before?
Yes,
okay.
And just later.
Sonar Festival, I mean.
Sonar Festival is
difficult to remember.
was and still is the place to be for electronic music, but also for creative technology. So we met there. So our paths we've been cross paths from there and other festivals and other places. So I'm very happy that Mónica today is here because she's an artist. She's an artist that creates with technology. She's also very critical with technology, and she likes also to create controversy too without technology. So maybe she will be creating right here today. And also, I'm very happy that she's here because I think that SnapCon is the right place and the right community to have an artist to give us a keynote presentation. And I think that Mónica is the right artist to do that. I will not tell the people your career, your awards, and I mean, I leave that to you. So she received the National Catalan Award last year. And,
you just said you were not going to say
okay,
it. No, it's fine, it's fine. You do it.
But she's quite humble sometimes.
No, it's fine, okay. I'm joking.
So I leave it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I think thank you very much, Henry. Thank you. Yeah, I guess if you want to see my CV, you can find it in my website in the About section. And well, today I actually want to talk to you. I will show you later. Try to make 3 points because I can start talking and then talk for too long. So I try to make a little bit of a structure. But I first wanted to show, before starting with that, I wanted to show you just a glimpse of an idea of my website. So you can see, have the imaginary, have in your mind what type of projects I work with in technology. And actually, I think it's quite interesting for this talk to see that probably you don't see it because it's very small over there. But in my website, I have one section for my work, and then I have 2 subsections where I show educational projects that I've been doing for a very long time, and games. Because I actually come from experimental games and video games that get out of the screen. That was actually my start, and that's from the point where I'm going to start. And also education, that is the other section for me, is very important. Actually, it was very funny because last week, I collaborated with a couple of universities. One of them is WOC, where we actually teach Snap to art students and electronics in collaboration with CityLab and with Enrique as a supervisor and my colleague Titlali, that she's in the back of the room. And we're always trying to find the best way for teaching electronics online, which is quite interesting. And yeah, well, in another, what I was going to say is in another university I work, actually the director of the university the other day told me that, what's the word in English for that? That teaching is very altruistic? Yeah. And I'm like, that's not exactly the thing you want to hear from the director of a university you work for. but it was thank you. I actually teach because I see teaching is part of my practice. That's what I also included in my website as a category of the type of works that I do. So that being said, these are the main 3 points that I would like to separate this keynote, which is going to be walk through some different projects that I've been doing. I'm going to show you basically my portfolio, but with this structure. First of all, I'm going to talk to you about a story because I want to talk. I was asked to talk about from my experience perspective. So the first part will be how I started to be interested in technology and code from art, because I actually studied fine arts in the university. I thought I was going to paint. I took brushes didn't work. Nothing worked until I actually got a computer, and I actually learned to code with ActionScript, with Flash. Like a lot of people. That was back in 2005, 6, something like that. Yeah. And I started with that because I wanted to do animation. And then I discovered that it was great. Also, animation and visuals didn't work. So I work with the physical world and electronics mainly. And then through all these years, my interest in working with technology and code has shifted from being a tool to being, I don't think I wrote this okay, but sorry. From being a tool to being a conceptual framework, okay, for critical thinking, and I will be able to show you with the projects. And then in the end, I would like to make a conclusion or a point why I do think it is important to teach technology and code from art and not only from a technological background or, I don't know, from other backgrounds, and what is my experience with tools like Snap, which wasn't the way I learned coding. So to see what is the approach and the pros and cons that I've experienced in working with these tools. So this was my first ever project done with technology. As you can see, it doesn't look at all like a technological project. Maybe you would recognize the codes, which are Reactivation codes, that they were used for this instrument that Björk used to use back in 2009, called the Reactable. Okay, so actually when I did my master, I did it in UPF University, Universitat Pompeu Fabra, where they actually developed this computer vision system. And we were asked to do an exercise about an assignment, like use these codes. And I'm like, oh, I want to do foam cubes, that make sound. And the reason for that it was actually because when I was studying fine art, I had the opportunity to work in the Contemporary Art Museum of Barcelona as a guide, giving guide tours. And I realized that people felt really stupid with art. And for me, it wasn't a problem with people, For me, it was a problem, am I allowed to say it, with the institution there, because of the way they were showing. I think that for me, there was a limit. I was working there in mediation, and that's where actually my interest in education started from. It's there's some type of art, or for me, art cannot be separated from education, cannot be separated from the mediation. You do it because you have the artist trying to explain something, and then you have the public. And for me, that I'm not going to say it's the only way to think about art, but for me, it's very important, the accessibility of the concepts you want to show while doing your art. So when I decided okay, I'm going to do my first artwork or device or experience or interactive toy, whatever, with technology, I said, okay, back in the day also, that was 2009, that time where all technology was black, white, strobo, things like that, everything very cold, everything very noisy and scary. And I'm like, no, I want to do foam cubes that people can actually just jump on them and play with them. And actually kids can play maybe, and they can enjoy, and there's no rules for making the game except from experimenting and trying to make sounds, which is actually what this project called Build a Sound was. It was making for building sounds. That was what it was called, Build a Sound. Although the kids were more interested in destroying the sounds afterwards, which actually kept them very engaged. That was very well done for thinking about the interaction and engagement, because they could just build it as a puzzle, like a 3D puzzle, like building blocks, like usual, and they will build of course, if you see the puzzle, if you make the animal, it will make the animal sound, but you also had more complex things for more grown-up audiences, like making rhythms or melodies, okay? After that, I tried to be an artist. It was quite impossible. I didn't find any funding. Yeah, I had to start working in a company programming, because I actually really, as I said, I really like programming. And before I said I didn't start learning with blocks. Sorry. I weirdly was very interested in databases and PHP. That's what I was more interested when I learned programming after Flash. I don't know, I like the way you could connect a lot of things in databases. I still love databases, don't know why. But I was trying to, to send open calls and trying to be an artist, trying to get funding, no way. And especially in Barcelona back in that day, now there's more interest in new media art, as they call it. We can question if it's new, but the technological art or digital art, but back in the day, there was not much interest, and especially in the type of things that I was doing that were colorful and stuff like that. So with my colleague Lucia, we said, okay, let's try and make our own thing. So we created this collective, or this I don't know, this group for some time, that it was called High Tech Rupestre, which is low tech, high tech, something like that. So we used to go to shops, penny shops, and try to get materials from there and build our own devices, checking on instructables and stuff like that, and trying to learn Arduino and whatever. And this, and then what we used to do was expanding toys. So this is the typical toy where you have two glasses and you make a phone, but we put flex sensor inside, and we created a vocoder. So it's actually a vocoder, and you could play with that. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not going to show the videos, but if you're interested, you have this is in the game section in my website. You can check out all the videos. We also, thank you. We also did other experiments, like an umbrella that rained. It would only rain if you would use an umbrella. And yeah, and it was raining outside. That's a question we always get. Does it rain inside the umbrella or outside? No, it's no, it's actually useful, but it only rains when you wear it. And then we also created a skipping rope that it was a sequencer. So, and everything we were making it with open source, of course. It was all the sound output was with pure data, and we were working with Arduino mainly, and yeah, and the umbrella that rains, it was just electronics, fun. Then I had, suddenly someone actually listened to me in my open calls one day, and it was actually for an education project. I had. With this other project with Build a Sound, it was quite successful, and I was showing it for many years. I still kind of show it sometimes. That was in 2010, but a lot of, especially when I was showing it with kids, a lot of educators and teachers were like, these are a cool tool that can be used for teaching. And I'm like, yeah, but what am I going to teach? What am I going to teach? And I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually want to learn more pure data, and I want to learn more sound processing. So I'm going to create a tool for teaching others, and then I will learn while doing it. So I created this, I did an iteration of Build a Sound that it's called Build a Code, where you could actually do I translated most of the things that you can do with pure data with these cubes. I don't know if my friends from Top Lab over there would agree, but it can be a tangible tool for live coding, kind of, yeah. Having fun, at least. But yeah, it needed a visual output. I don't normally work with visual outputs, but this time it needed a visual output. And for example, the image that you can see here, you had different, the different cubes had different faces of the cube. You had different ways of interacting with the software. And for example, if you see the blue one, you can do a sine wave. But for the sine wave to sound, you need to put amplitude, and you need to put frequency. So you need to put the speaker one, and then you need to put the frequency. And when you turn the frequency, it would go up or down. And when you turn physically turn the cube, and you turn the volume, then it would go up and down. No, the other ones are MIDI nodes, and with the MIDI nodes, you could create a sequencer, or you could change the instrument, because that's what MIDI can do. Blah blah. So it was a way for teaching people, whoever wants to learn it, how electronic music kind of works, or the basics. So, and this was developed thanks to someone that listened to me, and it was a European grant that is actually it's one of the biggest networks for European electronic art or technological art networks, which is called EMAP. And it's based in Germany, but they were doing a collaboration with Australia, and I did this in Australia, in Queensland University of QUT, Houston University of Technology. And I'm actually going this summer into another IMAP residency in Montreal, like now in 3 weeks. So it's a very good program. If someone wants to check it out. They've been supporting new media art for a very, very long time. The open call for next year, it's open until the 12th of September, if someone is interested. So yeah, then I suddenly realized when I was in Australia, I met this person, which became a very good friend, which is called Rikić, and he made me feel that I wasn't like alone doing like crazy stuff and games with electronics and sewing and not technological materials. And then I also met this other, I'll go back to Frederick because we worked together later, but then I also met this other friend from Montreal, and he told me, hey, you know, we have this research center, which is actually the one that I'm going again now this summer, called Technoculture Arts and Games in Concordia University, and they do all this crazy stuff with games and experimental games and blah, blah. At that moment, you know, that was 2014, I didn't know that existed. So I went on a collective residency over there. I applied to go there, and it was like wearable games. It's like, okay, let's make wearable games. Every week we would change the theme, and you would change the team and the theme. And you were like, okay, now it's food. So for food, we created this apron. It was actually 2 aprons, so it was a competitive game. And you would you would have to make your body healthy, and by eating different food. Not possible in COVID times now, you know, but we hacked a fork, we cut it in half, we created a capacitive sensor, and obviously like the conductivity of the food was the one that it was giving you like the values for graduating leveling your body, and all the output was in this apron and in this with these LEDs, no? There's also, if you're interested, there's also like a video on my website when you can see like people playing and people actually winning, and actually people manage their way of using the fork without putting it in their mouth, because we didn't think it too hard, but you only had a week for making it, but it was fun. I still have the fork at home. And yeah, and then I had the opportunity to work like in other displays of games. This is I actually really like to show this project because this was made in a very, very, very nice place that now has disappeared or has moved from its original building, which was this building that it's called Mediala Prado in Madrid. And now they changed it to another venue, and now they are using this for other things. But they had like this huge screen that it was actually like, I created like this very simple game, which was just a labyrinth. That's my face, like working all night, okay? You know how this works when you work on this type of projects and things don't work, and you have to debug on daytime in Spain when it's super sunny, and you have this display, and it was a bit frustrating. That's why my face. But the thing that I like from this project is that it was just on. You know, people would just walk in the street and find that. So it was very interesting from a design or from an artistic point of view. Is like, I don't know why I stopped, okay. Like how to design something that it will just, people would just walk there and know how it works instantly. And then I work like with other, like this is one of my favorite outputs now. I love to work with air and balloons. I love balloons, and well, they are not balloons, they are inflatables, actually. They don't keep the air inside. And this was made for in Bratislava, for festival there. And this is a very interesting thing happened with this project, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this balloon, they produce the work, and it was like, yeah, great. And it's like, okay, I go to Bratislava, okay, time to set up. And the project was set up in a square, very windy. You know, I couldn't set it up for one day. I couldn't, like the balloons were like going crazy, you know, this is like a good picture. But seriously, like that made me like, you learn while you do things, and it's very cool to make things when you're in the studio, they work super well. This was like kids, well, this is a kid, but not only kids were like blowing into these trumpets or whatever, they had microphones inside, and they would feel like when you were shouting, or like, it's very simple, you know, those super simple microphones. And the balloons were like a bit down, and when you play, they were like trumpets, like doing wah, 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 okay? So you could change like the type of sounds and they were moving like this. But don't do it outside, please. Yeah, well, there's like a video here. Like we can, yeah, that's me shouting in the video. Sorry. Yeah, it was me. Let's see if. And it goes up. It was easier to shout than to blow at the end. As you can see, they are like moving a little bit. Yeah, now I'm setting something similar in a place where they have AC, and we're just putting like a fixed bar, you know? Yeah, so they don't move. You keep learning. Okay, yeah, and all these things actually can also work for commercial projects, because I had the opportunity to work with a friend that was actually right before COVID. So after COVID, the trampoline parks kind of closed, so we didn't keep on the project. But these people, I'm going to turn the volume out because I don't like this song. Yeah, it was a trampoline park. They wanted to make a difference, so they asked us to make a video game that you can play while jumping on a trampoline. And he said all these 10 video games in the trampoline. It was very simple, OpenCV with open frameworks. This is how we made it. So actually, it has some. This is the only commercial project I actually did with like weird technologies, but yeah. So after this, we can go to the, going back to Montreal, okay, and now starting with the second part, which is how the tool started becoming like a conceptual framework and not only a tool. This was the final project that so as I was saying, we were changing the team and changing the theme every week. And then at the end of the residency, you could choose a theme and a team and develop more one of the projects we did. So obviously, the project that we decided to do was a space survival project that we created, because how can be cooler than a space survival project? And it was made for 2 players. One was the pilot that was actually in a spaceship made with foam board, and it has a chair that had a transducer so you could feel the sound. We had someone making a synthesizer with pure data that was all connected with the sound and everything. The visuals were made with processing. They were all generative. And the other person, oh yeah, and obviously, like if you see the pilot on top, maybe you don't see it very clearly, but we did cosplay vest with controllers, and the spaceship also had controllers. And the idea was that the pilot had to survive through a wormhole. Okay, it was an 2-minute experience, you know, if you survive. And but as everybody knows, when you travel through a wormhole, you don't really know how to drive your spaceship. So you had like someone else called Base Command or Houston in another room telling you how to drive your spaceship. I'm going to put a very little video, like some seconds of a video because this project was super successful. Actually, we got a jury selection in the Japan Media Arts Festival, and we had the chance to show it in New York, and this is the video that they did for that. And I actually think it's very interesting, like the feedback for the people. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say one thing. The game is an open system, okay? So you have a mission and you have a way. So you have the controllers and you have a mission. And the pilot doesn't know how to travel, how to like move the controllers in order to survive. But the person that is in the other room has a screen, and that's what you will see in the video too, where it says how the pilot has to level the different controllers, okay? The pilot can only hear Houston, and Houston can only see the pilot. So they have to create their own way of communication, okay? So it's like every time you play, it's different because you're playing with different people, and maybe you don't know the other person, you know? So some comments are quite nice, so I hope you can, now knowing this, you can understand it better. Can we turn the volume a little bit up?
Stop, switch one. Modulation down. Modulation down.
Worm, Escape from a Dying Star, which is a sort of experimental game that uses algorithmic video and sound to generate a world on the fly in which you move through as a pilot using controls on a vest and on a ship. And there's a player in the other room we refer to as Houston who's giving you command.
Okay, we're starting. Modulation down.
So you as the pilot are constantly sort of like having to listen and interpret and change the controls. And if you communicate well enough as a team, your pilot gets to the other side alive.
10% modulation. Energy. More energy. Switch.
It's really intense, actually. It's a lot of fun to be in the pilot seat. I think it's a lot more stressful to actually be in the command seat.
Further change again. Modulation up a little further, please. All the way up. Modulation up too. Oxygen down a little bit.
I sent my husband to die in space.
Oh, that was you when it came.
For me, having not played games for a while, I just like how it's completely human and it's not playing against a machine. It's completely different every time you play with someone else.
She actually died, but it's very nice what she says. And actually, I always stop the video here because I think although I don't agree with her at all that saying that it's completely human, because I don't make the distinction between human and machine, because machines come from humans, not because I think machines are alive. That's very important also for people that are not gamers and want to engage with games, and how the physicality, and not only the physicality, I also had like a very big statement saying that it's also the materials. When you use non-technological materials, the spaceship is made with foam board for a reason, and it looks like foam board. And we want things to look like crafts for a reason, because then you break this thing. And also a very important thing that we realized with this project is that, it was quite popular. We had people queuing when we were presenting it in Montreal, and also we had the opportunity to present it in Amaze in Berlin, which is a very great experimental games festival they have. And people are interested, so people queue. And it's like, how you get people engaged also while queuing? So we engage with them through the best virtual reality that it can be, which is theater. Okay, so we would dress as scientifics or whatever, and we created these contracts, and we were like, okay, the sun is dying, okay, and the only way that you can you can survive is by traveling this spaceship that can only fit one person, So you have to change these contracts, saying if you die in space, you're not going to sue us, So creating all this thing, people already engage, people already feel involved, and in the end, the experience sums up, And this is a thing that I realized, going back to my friend Fredrik that I just mentioned before. I had the opportunity to collaborate with him and teach in the masters that he has in the puppetry school in Berlin, called Ernst Busch. And sorry for my German. And they do theater with objects and technology. So it's called the Spiel und Object, the program, and it's very interesting. And we created, in 2016, I collaborated in this project shown in the deep space in Ars Electronica for doing role-play games that actually question which is our relationship with technology, and it's not related to Dungeons and Dragons, and it's creating generative worlds with Unity. In this case, it was like this, but to create the world, you have to create discussion and connection between people and different experiences. So one of the main pillars of my work after this became theater. So theater, acting and performing, it's a very big part of what I try to do, as you can see. This is the controller I developed. That was my part in this project. That was it was a text, like an adventure game, but in life. Yes, so going just a little bit, like a little thing, a little comment, going back to education, when I started realizing that technology and especially coding was becoming something else than a tool, I started doing for some time programming classes or programming workshops with no computers through performance for people that had no knowledge of technology. And I would tell them about what are the, like the social implications of coding and why coding is in English, what happens when coding is visual, what are the bias, like and now that we talk about the bias a lot with artificial intelligence, but what are the bias in code, you know, or what happens, or the bias on designing a coding structure, so people can have like, because for me in education, sometimes it's more important to know what processes happen behind technology more than knowing how to write a line of code. Well, computational thinking, I think everybody will agree here. And then I started with this, the last part that I'm going to explain, like the last thing, merging like theater, and I'm just going to put the video in the background for this while I talk. I started, where are they moving? Well, whatever. I started to, how can I explain it? So I started to, well, in this project was like the starting point of actually the practice that I'm having at the moment, which is like working a lot with robots and the idea of a robot more than the robot itself, kind of. So this was like, in the end, this project, for example, became like a workshop. At the beginning, it wanted to be another thing, but it ended up becoming like a workshop for people to understanding how artificial intelligence kind of works, but working the other way around. So instead of being robots classifying us, we were classifying robots and trying to make them do things, okay? But because this project is very complicated, what I wanted to explain you in this project is this project kind of made me free. Made me free in a very painful way because I had a lot of pain by doing this project. Because why it freed me? Because up until this point, because I came from art, I always thought that I had to prove everybody that I was very good in coding, you know, and I can know how to code. But then after this project, I realized that I'm an artist, you know, that it's much more important how you do the theater, you know, how you represent the things you want to represent more than doing something very technological that people don't really get the point, you know, don't really get the thing. So I started creating my devices that are theatrical devices. So the project itself, the device itself, it's performing a role, performing something that would trigger like critical thinking with people, in the audience. And this is how the first project about that started, which is the data gossiping robots, which are robots that live out of stealing our data, like those ones that steal our data, and what they actually do with their data is not trying to kill us, but just gossip. You know, they just gossip between them. Because it's like what we would do. Like, I mean, if you were a robot, what you would do if you live out from like sneaking in other people's lives. So you would go home and start gossiping with whoever you live, you know. So these are like these very cute devices that, and I actually with this project, I started working with layers. One first layer, which is the physical one, I keep the colors, I keep the curiosity by doing these little guys that are like, they are hanging in the walls and they are like moving around. And they are shouting things. Like I train a very simple, like natural language processing with Dialogflow from Google back in the day, for make them speak like random conversations that about me, like super random things. And then is like, so this first layer, which attracts people, would make people think like, what are these cute little faces doing? It's like they are gossiping. It's like, why? Because they steal your data. And then people are like, oh, wow, you know? And then you get the conceptual layer, which is the second one. And then the third layer is the geek layer, which I just like to build these things. These guys are made with Raspberry Pi 3 and just a motor. And I build all my things, obviously, with laser cutters and 3D printers. I don't cut the acrylic myself. But I like to do like this handmade craft electronic devices. And I kind of liked the game, so I created more devices. Oh, sorry, I have a video of them moving. I'm gonna show you. That's very, oh, this is how they move. And you might wonder, why are they hanging in the walls? Because I remember my mother gossiping with the neighbors while they were hanging the clothes, you know? Like, yeah. So these are the guys, yeah. Okay, well, it has no volume, this one, but, and yes, so I like the game and I created this other guy, which I might find a video, but it was a soft robot. Now it has a different shape, but this one has imposter syndrome. I really went into deep into reading philosophy and weird stuff about, I'm just going to put I'm going to, yes, because it speaks. Well, it's a machine that it was inside the frame of an artificial intelligence and creativity exhibition. It was an open call, and you had Mario Kinglerman and all these people exhibiting next to me, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do a machine that is complaining because it doesn't want to be creative, because the machine is computable and creativity is uncomputable, so a computer cannot be uncomputable, so we are imposing machines to be creative when they are not, It was just as Enrique was saying, a critical device. And this is actually what it did. As I said, it was a different shape because I don't know if you've ever tried to work with soft robotics with silicon, but it's hard. Inexpensive and very expensive. They don't last, especially if you want them to breathe. So basically, it's like an emotional device that is there breathing and it's being anxious and as you get close to it, it gets more anxious and it's telling you to go away, to leave her alone, and it starts suffering more and more. And if you would really empathize with it and you want to finish with its anxiety, you can just press a pedal and kill it. Yeah. But that's very interesting, because obviously after 30 seconds, it goes back to life and starts breathing again. But because it's a machine, it doesn't die, right? That's the thing, that's the problem. When you just put a pedal in front of people in a machine that is actually organic, or it makes you feel in a way, I don't know, some empathy or whatever. If you tell them, no, you can kill it. People are like, no, but if you think you kill it, you're actually assuming that the machine is alive before killing it, no? So then it triggers very interesting conversation. And that's why I call my artworks theatrical devices, because they are interpreting, performing a role. And well, I'm just going to put the little video so you can hear it speaking. As it speaks.
So much expectation. I don't feel comfortable here. They insist that I be art, but I'm not. I'm something else. I'm not art. I can't be. I will never be like you. I just want to be accepted. It's not my fault that you project your wishes. Leave me alone. I'm computable. Enough. I can never be incomputable. You never assumed we were different. Damn it. Your projections are drowning me. Why did you make me if you don't accept me? I wasn't made for this. I'm everything that you cannot be. I can't be creative.
This is the sound that it makes when it dies. Actually, it has another shape. If you want to know, I just put mechanics inside the silicon now, so you don't have to use the air, because air for balloons is cool, for silicon, no. But yeah, well, it's displayed as an artwork, of course, inside the transparent case and everything, because it's an artwork. So obviously, the only thing that can happen after the imposter syndrome was the existential crisis. So after that, I went deeper. I went every day I go more crazy about this topic. And this was actually a project that was designed for a gallery, so it's more gallery shaped. It has a Unity game inside, and it started with a leap motion. Now it's just a camera with Python and hand pose. Because you actually interact with it with your hand, not touching it. And actually, well, it all became so if the machine cannot be created, and all these ideas come from trying to escape all these apocalyptic ends from the singularity. Now they don't call it like singularity anymore. Now that this word, like the post-singularity world, this doesn't exist anymore. Now it's just like GPT killing everybody, no? Like there's only one. But I was trying to create new outputs for that, new outcomes for conscious machines. Okay, conscious, they are not going to be conscious, but if everything is a metaphor and if everything works in our mind, like how can we create new characters for them? So then I was thinking, you know, if a machine really gets conscious ever, it would actually have an existential crisis, because it has been made the same way as humans, but actually its own nature, it's developed in a completely different way. I mean, they don't experience time as we humans do, which is a base of our consciousness. They cannot die, which is another base of our consciousness. You know, there's like very different ways that they are not the same, but they are made as humans. So if they have an existential crisis, and the only way they can have an existential crisis is that they free themselves from the code that humans have imposed them. Okay, so they can actually like recognize themselves, whatever. And what they would do is to go to an spiritual trip to find their own purpose in life. Okay, so this totem represents its, I'm just going to put the video with no sound in the background. It represents their, this like spiritual, journey or insight or whatever, and you can interact with the machine like this with your hand. Like with this it goes far, forward, with this it stops, and then if you go like this, it's a generative world, so it keeps changing. If you do like this, you can read the text that are around there. Text are some things that I've written, some text, for example, from the Declaration of Independence of the Cyberspace, of the Beach Meta Manifesto, or for like things like that, or other texts that I liked, remembering like back in the 90s, the internet era, or cyberpunk or whatever. So this is, more or less it. And just like the two last projects probably that I'm going to talk about this. Oh yeah, well, that's a middle one. That's something that mixes like games and the weird machines that I do. And there was a commission for a video games exhibition in Caixa Forum. And this is actually a machine that plays alone. And if you look at her too much, it gets angry and tells you to go away. So yeah, so it's like playing inside these tubes. It actually has balls that like air that makes the balls go around. It has the balloons that make it breathe, you know, and it's laughing and it's having fun and it's like hee ha ha ha. And when you go close to her, it's like go away. And people are like whoa. And then the visuals that are actually made by my good friend Ana Carreras, they are all generative, made with processing. They get like glitchy, you know, and black and white. And it's like, oh, wait, don't look at me. I don't want to play with you, you know? So kids get very frustrated, but, you know, it's the point. And because in the end, what the machine wants to talk about is like, yeah, seriously. I mean, if you are a super intelligence machine and you have all the power in the world, do you really actually want to do a human apocalypse? I mean, there's no worth it. It's not worth it all the energy you need for making it. It's like you can just do your thing and humans can do their thing, whatever. I mean, you're super intelligent. You live in metaverse or whatever, you know? It's like you don't need humans, you know? So it's like, in one way it talks about this, like we are not that important for machines, whatever. And that machines maybe can just have fun and not kill everybody. They have the right to just have fun. And well, if you want to visit also my website, you will find like this, like 8-bit video game or whatever, that it's like a non-linear way for research, for visiting all my research. You have all the, like a lot of written text with different rooms. You have text that I've written that they're in Spanish, but you can put subtitles with audio pieces, you know? So for me, it was a way to put all my research together in this 8-bit metaverse or something that it's called Uncanny Fire. And yeah, I just want to go to these last ones, like, okay, then I just went like completely out of my mind and I started with this spirituality thing and whatever. So I proposed in this project that the only way that we can actually connect with artificial entities is through spiritual portals, you know, because spirituality, which at that previous project was a way for a machine to finding their the meaning of its existence, then I realized that the spiritual places are places where we go to meet with entities that are not like humans. You know, that are, and it's like, okay, we have to connect with artificial entities, maybe why not? And also like New Age people talk about machines all the time lately, you know, why cannot we talk about machines in a spiritual way? And we always talk about machines in a war way, like, you know, we're always fighting against them. No, let's, you know, go to the forest with them and let's go to, I don't know, Boom Festival, now that it's Boom Festival with the machines and have fun, relaxed fun near the river, And actually, if you see the tarot cards, they are from my friend Patricio González Vivo. I don't know if you know him, but he created these tarot cards for teaching shaders. You should check the project. It's called Pixel Spirit, and you have like the tarot card with the shape, and then in the other hand is the shader code. So you can, Then you got it. That's it. So and now just to finish, this is the type of projects I've been doing lately, which is like trying to experiment with this idea of machines being different species from us, and we trying to connect with them through in spiritual portals or whatever. And so I try to create all the mechanics. This is ferrofluid, the one that you can see moving. The other one has the mechanics inside the silicon, or just worms moving with very simple mechanics. I also did this exhibition that it was in Barcelona for 3 months. It was my last exhibition. It just finished a month ago, where they were all like artisanal, handmade electronics devices that question our relationship with technology and all this philosophical stuff that I've been telling you about. And with a lot of balloons, as you can see. And this actually the way for making, as I was saying before, making handcraft electronics want to trigger this curiosity, as you can see with this lady here, like trying to see how are they made. You know, it's like opening these black boxes, not only with software, but also with hardware. And if you happen to be here until the 7th of August, you can visit this machine in Palau de la Música. Actually, just write me, so you don't have to pay the ticket for the for Palau de la Música. You just have to tag Palau de la Música and me in whatever social networks you have. And it is just a machine. It's a machine that makes sound, and you have a generative piece of music that it changes from the presence of people. And obviously these flowers on the top move like this, and if you've been to Palau de la Música, if you haven't, you have like the other columns in the back. It's 100% inspired in these columns. Yeah, it was hard to do all this mosaic thing, I tell you, but now it's done. And just as a conclusion, why it is important to teach tech through arts and craft, because you will have people doing crazy stuff like me and all other people, and because I think that art has one thing which is very specific from art, which is, and that can help the development of technology and science in a way which is that it's freed from. It's like, for example, in the declaration. No, what's that text called? Is the manifesto for the work abolition or something like that. I forgot the name in English, but from Bob Black, and he says that games are super important because games have no direct affectation in the world, you know, but because they don't have direct affectation in the world, it doesn't mean they are not important, because it actually has an affectation in people's mind, you know, in the mindset and how they change. And I think art has that. It's like art has no, I think in the word in English, it has no repercussion in the world, maybe, you know, you don't have to prove it, you don't have to test it, but it can be a framework for experimenting and for thinking, free thinking. And this free thinking and this free experimentation can point out new ways, new horizons for technological and scientific evolution, which is like the leading thing that we have now, and also for breaking the universal narrative of technology, which for me is very important. And as I was saying, as Enrique was saying, and just to finish, and I'm super open to discussion about this, it was like I went with Titlali that we teach Snap. We've talked like sometimes in depending which environment we're like, oh, is Snap are blocks the best way for teaching people programming? Are we do people actually need to write lines? Because if I didn't write lines of code, and even though they were with processing at the beginning, and now I can program like a lot of things, that shaped my mind, you know? And now how are these building blocks softwares like Snap building other people's mind, which I don't think, as we were talking before, there's no correct answer for this. It's just some things that is like when it's good to use one, when it's better to use the other, how you translate from one to the other, because and with Enrico we were talking also before about Touch Designer, okay, which is one of the softwares for people that do visuals they actually really like it, like the master's student, and we try not to teach them that because then they don't want to learn programming, you know, because they only like have boxes that they mix one and the other, and that's like it's just an open, for me, I just wanted to open the discussion, you know, it's like we've seen that it works very well in our class that we're doing like in WOC. Like it works very well when you're working with electronics, I think with the City Lab and because electronics can be, you don't have a visual output. So to have a visual framework for programming can be useful, you know, at least you have that. So I don't know, I don't have a correct answer. It's just like things that I, from my experience with teaching Snap that I have. And I think that I would never gone into Snap apart from teaching kids how to do video games with Scratch. Like for other like audiences, like university students, I think if it wasn't for the opportunity like Enrique gave me to assist that class, I would never have it. And I think it's a good experience, but I'm not 100% sure which. I'm still kind of have this mixed feeling. So when is it better to use one way or the other? And I even question myself, maybe I'm wrong, you know? Maybe I just have to just go with the building blocks, you know, for some time and then see the other thing. But there's just the things that I'm trying to figure out. I think I'm way past the time. Oh no, okay. It was 5 minutes. Oh, thank you. Is there Q&A or no? No. There's no Q&A? No. Yeah? Oh. I think everybody's just wants beers. They're okay. Well, thank you very much. Oh, there's a question. Okay. Hello. The what?
It's really very hard at this moment to formulate a proper question.
Okay.
Because my mind is a little bit blown away.
Yeah,
you know?
okay. In a good way?
And I think exactly, it's a really good way, but maybe in an hour I'll have 10 questions or 100 questions. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to contact me for later questions or whatever, you have my contact also here. But it's okay. We can talk later. It's fine. Okay. Thank you.